Hello, welcome to Sound and Fairy Board Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today, this is one of my favorite videos to do of the year because I just talk about all the books I'm really excited to read next year in 2026. So just a warning, this video is basically just me reading the jacket copies of books and showing you the covers. So you're not going to get any kind of analysis. I'm not even going to kind of give you too many of my dumb jokes or comments. So if that sounds boring to you, I am sorry about that. Don't watch it, I guess. But if you really just want to get a big chunk of mainly sci-fi, fantasy, horror books coming next year, couple historical fictions here and there, then this is the place for you to be. And last year I organized it based on genre. This year I was not as organized, so I am doing it based on willy-nilly. My shirt might change halfway through the video because I don't know if I can read all of these books and not lose my voice. So we're just gonna get started here. We're starting off. So I'm gonna start with ones I've not been approved for yet on NetGalley. So these are just ones that I've seen on Instagram or kind of seen posted places that I am interested in, and then I'm gonna move to ones I've actually been approved for on NetGalley. So you'll know about those reviews coming up. So let's jump in. So first we have The Cracks by T.H. Huddleston. Following the death of her husband, Sandra Riley is left all but destitute, jobless, penniless, and about to lose her home. But an encounter with an old university friend seems to offer a lifeline. Gary McManus was always well-to-do. Now he's risen to join the landed gentry as his wife Joy takes possession of her aristocratic family's remote, dilapidated, but undeniably impressive stately home, Hotmud Hall. Accepting Gary's invitation, Sandra arrives at the house intending to gather her thoughts, face her grief, and plan her next move. But life at Hotmud isn't so simple. Why is she having such dreadful dreams? Why do visitors to the house keep suffering inexplicable accidents? What's hidden in the secret room buried deep in the lightless cellar? And who are the distant, shadowed figures she keeps glimpsing in the mirrors? So this is coming out September 8th, 2026. Wow, that's far away. And this is from Titan Books, so I'm excited for that one. Next we have A Realm Undone by J.L. Linehart. This is a fantasy novel. Centuries ago, mortals split the realm into two, with a magical veil placed firmly between them and their immortal rulers, the Tyrkans. Fueled by soul and magic, the mortal kingdoms flourished, but the Tyrkans never stopped trying to reclaim their magic and mortal subjects. And now, generations later, the veil between realms has begun to tear, letting immortal monsters ravage across the nations and threaten all that mortals have built. Aliyah Meador would have happily watched the mortal kingdoms buckle as long as she could keep herself and her teenage daughter Lena alive. After all, her own kingdom of Mandel cast her out for her volatile magic, sending her to wander remote villages for decades. But when the treatment of Lena's illness comes along with a royal order to defend Mandel with the same magic they once spurned, Aliyah is caught between protecting the one person she loves and the reckoning she has so long desired. So that one is coming out, I think January 20th? Next, we have The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. This is coming out May 5th, 2026, and this is from Hachette. Live by the code, die by the knife. Isako is a legendary swordswoman, but every legend must come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow, to walk out into the frozen wasteland of their planet with her head held high and her family enriched by her death. But when she's offered a final mission, she can't refuse, especially when she realizes who lies at the center of it. Martin, her last and worst apprentice, who somehow made his way to the top. As she's thrust into a world of corporate espionage and shadowy secrets, which she uncovers could forever change humanity's existence among the stars. So this is a sci-fi. Seems like a kind of cool fantasy element to it too. So this is The Revenant of Cerulifia by Florence Chen. Secrets are often liabilities, but sometimes they are power. Lucas Ryan has seen enough violence. When the Empire of Colors slaughters 17,000 of his silver-eyed kin, Lucas buries his hatred, hides his eyes behind color lenses, and vows to become the Imperial Gendarmerie's commander. He will liberate his annexed island home through a diplomatic succession. Usurped Prince Faye Folaric wants his throne back. When violent revolutionaries help him escape from prison, he joins them. They need a silver-eyed champion to rally the people, and he needs the resources to defeat the Gendarmerie protecting the usurper. When Faye's escape costs Lucas his promotion, Lucas adds revenge to his list of reasons to stop the bloody revolution. While the two hunt each other across the country, the Emperor's warships are landing in 2 weeks to exterminate everyone with silver eyes. If Lucas and Faye can't unite their forces against the Imperial fleet, there will be nothing left of the people they're both trying to liberate. So very political fantasy here. This one is coming out in July 7th. Oh, near my birthday. Next is a book that I'm very excited for because I love the author. He's great. His books are awesome. So First Mage on the Moon by Cameron Johnson. Ella Pickering has been stuck in a never-ending cycle of debt and pain. Formerly Formerly a Unity Sky Mage trained to make aerial supply runs in the Great War between Unity and the Renius Empire, she must now use a rickety old wheelchair after a devastating skyship crash. To pay off crushing medical debt, Ella works grueling shifts making magical weapons for the research and design workshop, thinking of better days. A late-night double shift means Ella witnesses an arcane experiment by engineer Jack and Grissom gone awry. The device morphs into a crude rocket blasting straight for the moon, ultimately falling into the spell-ravaged no man's land between the feuding nations. But that accident inspires hope. If they could make a device to reach the moon, the home of the gods, then perhaps they could go there and directly ask the gods to intervene and stop the war. Imbued with new dreams and knowledge, the two begin crafting a device to take them to the moon. But as more people become involved in their blasphemous plot, will they be able to keep it under wraps, or will discovery of their heresy lead them to the gallows? Very exciting. Now we have The Infinite State by Richard Swan, a favorite author of mine. So this one is from Macmillan, and it's coming out on, I can't tell if that's August 4th or April 8th, because I'm not sure which way people do their dates. So what's this about? In this blistering science fiction epic, blah, 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 blah. The Infinite State begins at a flashpoint in the lives of a widowed party member, a disgraced investigator, and a hyper-sled pilot entangled in a plot to escape the suffocating authority of a fascist state. I don't know if I even need to read any more, but I'm going to. Who gives you life? Pater Eternus. Catherine Fuller's husband is dead. As an esteemed member of Pater Eternus, governing party of the fascist galaxy-spanning Decurian Empire, he has left behind an estate of immeasurable wealth, and Catherine is going to inherit it. Who gives you purpose? Pater Eternus. Life under the Eternal Father is rigidly stratified, surveilled, and controlled, each new day to be endured, not lived. But with Catherine's newfound fortune, she is presented with a rare and dangerous opportunity: purchase a virgin world and create a better, fairer society. Who gives you joy? Pater Eternus. But the Emperor cannot allow its wayward daughter to succeed, and as Catherine works in secret, recruiting allies she's not even sure she can trust, she will discover exactly how far Pater Eternus is willing to go to stop her, because Catherine is going to create something nobody has seen for many years: a democracy. Sounds cool. I love political books, so I'm very excited for this one. I mean, excited for all of them. I'm going to say this about every single book, and I'm sorry about that. Okay, so the next one is The Curse of Dragentail Island by Jonathan Navarre. A once legendary pirate and his loyal crew out to retake the high seas. Captain James R. Hawke, aka Trusty Jack, and his salty scoundrels are do-gooder buccaneers, leaving a trail of merry mayhem in their wake. Their credo: ignore the corrupt laws of the Jewel Island's greedy governor and sail the tropical seas in search of treasure, freedom, and adventure. But when the governor's royal navy teams up with a powerful mage, Trusty Jack's sordid past catches up with him. Love lost, lost lives, and a lost ship haunt the legendary pirate. That's when a cunning gnome arrives from the mainland with a daring proposal. Will Jack muster the salty courage to sail through the illusion-filled mists to reach Forbidden Island? The ghostly horrors and powerful curse at his destination will test more than his pirate metal. He'll have to weigh the price of gold against the risk of peril to himself, his crew, and those he loves, and face down a haunting past trailing in his wake. This book is really fun. Next, we have one I'm really excited for. This one's coming out May 26th. It's Bone of My Bone by Joanna Van Veen. She was the author of My Darling Dreadful Thing, which I loved. So, the year is 1635. When Sister Ursula, a young nun fleeing the ruins of her convent, and Elizabeth, a star-widowed orphan, escape a band of marauding soldiers and disappear into the depths of the barren forest, they form a fragile alliance, born not of trust but necessity. War scorches the land and no one survives it alone. But everything changes when they discover a dying man clutching a strange wooden box, inside the gilded skull of a saint. With his final breath, the man shares a secret. Reunite the skull with his saint's body and a wish will be granted. Desperate for salvation, Ursula and Elspeth follow a ragged map across a blighted countryside. But something follows them. A necromancer drawn to the relic's power, the saint herself whispering through their dreams, and as the lines between miracle and curse begin to blur, the women must face a harrowing truth: the magic they seek comes at a cost. At the journey's end, they'll face an impossible choice, one that could reshape their world or bind them to each other forever. I'm so excited because I really loved her other books. Then we have The Quiet Resurrection of Sister Evelita Livingston by Nick Whalen. Witchcraft was just a game until the bodies started piling up. Cinnamon Christine Carmichael doesn't remember the killings. Not at first, but the blood on her hands, the whispers in her head, and the smile on her best friend Hedda's face say enough. Something has been unleashed, and it's using them to grow. 2 teenagers are burned alive in a corn maze as the crowd watches, paralyzed, filming every second. It's the latest in a string of ritualistic murders that defy explanation. Sheriff Henry McGinty has seen a lot in his time, but nothing like this. So he calls in Sister Eve. Eve sees what others can't, echoes of the dead, glimpses of the future. But this time the visions are fragmented, wrong, as if something is blocking her sight, something old, something evil, something wearing the face of her mother, reincarnated in the body of a teenage girl. As Halloween nears, Cinnamon's coven races to complete a ritual that could bring the devil himself to Earth, and Eve Henry and the irreverent Deputy Fink may be the last line of defense between our world and other damnation. Once the spell begins, it can't be undone, and hell is already watching. Super cool. Now we have The Dragon Has Some Complaints by John Wiswell. This is coming out July 14th. This one is from Penguin Random House. Sorry if I'm not consistent with telling you when these are coming out. I forget. So, Garadai, I don't know how you say that, Garadai, whatever, was once a four-headed dragon among the powerful in Cardosa. After an unfortunate incident, he now has 3 heads, 1 stump, and a daily whirlwind of internal bickering. Centerhead wants to rain death upon all humanity, bottom head is like a feral cat, and upper head is under the delicate delusion that he is in fact human. When a nearby battle goes awry, Garadai sneaks into a elite dragon rider academy, pretending to be tamed to get free food and a warm bed. Lucky for him, rider Renia Albert is desperate enough for a dragon of her own that she overlooks his eccentricities. As Garadai recovers under Renia's care, all 3 heads start to turn, for the first time, in the same direction. Each wants to protect her from the invaders who killed their 4th head, the same invaders who seek to conquer Cardosa. When the academy comes under attack, can this wild dragon and his wilder rider save their homeland together? This cozy fantasy intertwines epic battles with loving friendships, sharing an utterly unique perspective on what it means to be a monster. And we have Something on Your Mind by George Morris Dieith. Theo Gray is running out of time. Desperate for a cure for his terminal illness, Theo convinces his friends to journey with him to Los Angeles, a city as chaotic and fractured as his mind. Haunted by the voices in his head and the devil perched on his shoulder, Theo battles a growing urge to smash, bash, and crash anything blocking his path to survival. But as reality frays and his grip on morality slips, Theo must confront the darkest corners of his psyche before everything and everyone falls apart. A wild, mind-bending ride through mental health, friendship, and the chaos of quarter-life crisis, this novel channels the terrifying energy of Stephen King's It with a fresh Gen Z pulse. Okay, so on NetGalley, I've been approved for a whole bunch of books, but there's some I have not been approved for yet. So I'm gonna read to you the ones that I hope I get approved for. So Morsel by Carter Keene. This is a book coming out April 14th from Tor. Lou did what the children of parents with backbreaking, poorly paying jobs are supposed to do. Pulled up her bootstraps, went to college, and got an office gig with coworkers who won't stop talking about their multi-level marketing scheme disguised as self-betterment. When Lou accepts a property appraisal assignment in the rural hills of Ohio, she knows it's her last chance to save her job and keep making rent. But when Lou quickly finds herself stranded in the middle of nowhere with a sabotaged truck, her dog, and someone or something stalking her through the ancient Appalachian... But she quickly finds herself stranded in the middle of nowhere with a sabotaged truck, her dog, and someone or something stalking her through the ancient Appalachian woods. If she can't escape the woods in time, she'll see firsthand that her job isn't the only thing that wants to eat her alive. We have Japanese Gothic by Kylie Lee Baker. This one's coming out April 21st by Harlequin. They never approved me, so I'm not banking on getting this one. October 2026. Lee Turner doesn't remember how or why he killed his college roommate. The details are blurred and bloody. All he knows is he has to flee New York and to go the one place that might offer refuge, his father's new home in Japan, a house hidden by sword ferns and wild ginger. But something is terribly wrong with the house. No animals will come near it, the bedroom window isn't always a window, and a woman with a sword appears in the yard when night falls. October 1877. Sen is a young samurai in exile, hiding from the imperial soldiers in a house behind the sword ferns. A monster came home from war wearing her father's face, but Sen would do anything to please him, even turn her sword on her own mother. She knows the soldiers will soon slaughter her whole family when she sees a terrible omen, a young foreign man who appears outside her window. One of these people is a ghost, and one of these stories is a lie. Something is hiding beneath the house of sword ferns, and Lee and Sen will soon wish they never unburied it. This sounds so cool. Wolf Worm by T. Kingfisher. I'm probably not going to get approved for this one either, but that's okay. This one's coming out March 24th from Tor. It's Tor Nightfire, actually. I know I will like this one, though, because I know Tor Nightfire and I sometimes don't get along. I saw the devil in these woods. Sonia Wilson is a talented scientific illustrator, but she is only able to follow her dream because of her father's reputation as a renowned scientist. Such is the lot in life for women in science in 1899. It's historical fiction, I didn't even realize this. After his death, she is left without work prospects or hope. So when the reclusive Dr. Halder offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects, Sonia jumps at the chance to move to his North Carolina manor house and put her talents to use. Once there, though, she encounters dark happenings in the Carolina woods, and even darker questions come to light, like what happened to her predecessor, why are animals acting so strangely, and what is behind the peculiar local whispers about blood thieves. There's more, but this sounds really cool. Green and Deadly Things by Jen Lyons. This is coming out, another Tor book. This is coming out March 3rd. Centuries ago, necromancy almost destroyed the world. That's how history remembers it. History remembers it wrong. Mathaik has trained all his life to join the sacred order of Idalic knights charged with defending their world from the forces of necromancy. Only vestiges of that cursed magic remain, nothing like the fabled days of the Grim Lords, the undead wizards who nearly once destroyed the world. But when an even stranger kind of monster begins to wake, the knights quickly prove powerless to stop them. Whole forests are coming alive and devouring anyone so foolish as to trespass, as if the land itself has turned upon humanity. It's a good thing, then, that the grim lords were never truly destroyed. One of their number sleeps below the Knight's Ferry fortress, and when an army of twisted tree monsters attacks the young initiates in his charge, Math decides to do the unthinkable. He wakes her up. There's more, but it's too long, but this sounds really cool. Death Meets Cute Deluxe Edition. So I don't know if this is a new one, but it's coming from Poison Pen. Coming out April 28th. It's by Jay Penner. Iris Wayward wants to be bad, truly bad, terrifyingly, gloriously villainous, but after helping her sisters unleash a spell to throw the realm into chaos, Iris is left feeling strangely empty, and still not the villain of her dreams. So she sets off for the quiet town of Freywell to build her wicked legacy alone. Things start promisingly. A crooked little college, a reputation for curses and potions, and a healthy dose of fear from the locals. When her ogre bodyguard disappears, Iris needs new muscle. Good thing a fearsome orc just toppled over in her yard. Naturally, she decides to reanimate him. It's a perfect solution. Only talent isn't the brooding warrior she's hoping for. He's gentle, he bakes, worst of all, he's nice. But Iris can't possibly have a thing for a new employee. She's supposed to be the most wicked witch in town. So, obviously, something happens. We Burn So Bright by T.J. Klune. This is coming out April 28th from Tora Publishing again. The roads stretch out before them, no other cars, just the headlights on the blacktop. Above, the cracked moon and a kaleidoscope sky. Husbands Don and Rodney have lived a good long life. Together they've experienced the highest highs of love and family, and lowest so low they felt like the end of the world. Now the world is ending for real. A rogue black hole is coming for Earth, and in a month everything and everyone they've known will be gone. Suddenly, after 40 years together, Don and Rodney are out of time. They're in a race against the clock to make it from Wayne to Washington State to take care of some unfinished business before it's all over. On the road, they meet those who refuse to believe death is coming and those who rush to meet it. There are also people living their final days as best they know how. Impromptu weddings, bright burning bonfires, shared meals, and new friends. Oh, is this cozy? And Crawl Space by Adam Christopher. This is another Tor Nightfire one coming out March 17th. Mission lead Olivia O'Connor and her team at the Artemis Corporation, along with their military liaison, are in the final preparations for an undertaking that will alter the course of human history, a test flight that promises to open up new frontiers in the expanse of the universe. But their journey between dimensions is one they never trained for. Strange voices in the corridors, long-lost faces not forgotten, strange symbols carved into the hull, and gathering outside the ship ancient forces beyond reckoning. The crew will need all their skills to survive and uncover the twisted truth behind their mission. Commencing countdown. Sounds neat. Okay, so the next batch are ones that I've actually been approved for in NetGalley, so we will be getting reviews of these in the future, hopefully sooner than later. So first is The Intrigue by Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is coming out July 14th, so I probably won't review this thing till like June, but anyway. Handsome con artist Ulysses has long charmed lonely women via letters to steal their money, but money is hard to come by in 1940s Mexico. Ulysses knows his looks won't last forever, and he's desperate to get his hands on real fortune. He thinks he's found it when he captivates his newest correspondent, Perla, the owner of a small-town boarding house in picturesque Veracruz. But when he meets her, he finds something he didn't expect. The woman has a niece, Inez, who is as observant as she is desperate to escape her aunt's household. When Inez discovers Ulysses' true intentions, she wants in on the scheme. They'll convince her aunt that Ulysses is a great catch, Perla will marry him, and her money will vanish. Easy, fast, and clean. But Perla is not the desperate, silly spinster Ulysses imagines. She harbors secrets. And although Ulysses does not believe in true romance, Inez is more alluring than he bargained. Suddenly, a simple plan may become perilously complicated. Habits of the Sea by Shia Earnshaw. So this one's from Atria Books, coming out July 7th. The night Clay Lockhart's wife dies, a violent storm tears their home and the 8 hectares of land beneath it away from the Scottish coast, sending it adrift into the Atlantic. 30 years later, 12-year-old Ellie Malis discovers the fabled floating island on the coast of Nova Scotia and finds Clay still living in the weather-worn farmhouse perched on its highest hill. When the island vanishes overnight, Ellie is left questioning whether it ever existed at all. But decades later, now in her 30s, the island resurfaces, and Ellie returns, determined to uncover the truth. What she finds is even stranger. Clay hasn't aged a single day. Wow, I've changed. I've gotten a haircut. I've got a new shirt. Anyway, so I obviously ran out of time and or my voice gave out. I can't even remember when I was filming this last. So let's finish this up with a few more books that I have been approved for on NetGalley. Ode to the Half-Broken by Suzanne Palmer. 40 years ago, the world nearly ended. B is an old robot who was there and doesn't want to think about what happened or what role they played in that conflict. They have settled into a life of isolation in the abandoned ruins of an old mill in the former New York Botanical Gardens, disinterested in what happened in the outside world since they stepped away from the war. Someone out there, though, has not forgotten about them, and when they are attacked, their person vandalized, and one of their legs stolen, they set out to find the thief, accompanied by a cyber dog and a human mechanic. The world has changed, but the recovery from the war is uneven and faltering, and B begins to suspect a malicious hand trying to rekindle the old conflict and finish what was started. In order to stop them, B needs to come to terms with both their own past and who they have become, and how everything and everyone else they knew has changed in their absence. Being left alone is no longer an option, and peace may be impossible. So that sounds fun. Then we have Heaven's Graveyard by Grace Curtis. I'm so excited about this. This is from Daw. It's coming out on June 16th. So I think this is a kind of tie-in to Idlefire, which I'm really hoping to get for Christmas. I wish I could show it here, but I mean, if I don't get it, I'm going to buy it myself. But I put it on my Christmas list. Anyway, so be careful what you pray for. Cod became an archaeologist to chase the ghost of her hero, Alea Enya Ulai. History may have been written Alea off as a myth, but Cod is determined to prove she existed, even if it means shifting through relics for the rest of her life. Then a message arrives summoning her home. Cod's former teacher has found something monumental, the ruins of an enchanted city slumbering beneath the soil. This could be the breakthrough they've always dreamed of, but with war brewing, rival powers circulating, and ancient magic stirring underfoot, the discovery soon becomes far more trouble than it's worth. Even Cod starts to wonder if some things are better off left buried. I'm going to read the tagline. Heaven's Graveyard is a sinister lesbian history mystery, bringing old magic into a dangerous new century. I am so excited. And then we have The Inn at the Foot of Mount Vengeance by Chiara Bolin. This is coming out July 7th from Del Rey. Mount Vengeance is legendary. For most, it's an adventure or a quest to prove themselves worthy of fame and glory. For Ainsworth Gladsley, it's the perfect thesis material. Ainsworth is an ambitious research fellow and up-and-coming historian, finally ready to make his mark on the world. When a supervisor learns of the rumored Minish Inn at the foot of Mount Vengeance, she sends Ainsworth to be the first to document the exploits of the bold adventurers who seek to face the perils of the mountain and the dragons said to inhabit it. The inn is far from the sophisticated city life he's grown to love, but even as he grudgingly warms its rustic charm and its lovely innkeeper Honey, the mystery of the mountains refused to reveal itself. Worse, Ainsworth can't find evidence that anyone has ever undertaken the climb. Even the bravest warriors who stay at the inn turn away from Mount Vengeance the next day. With Ainsworth's reputation as an academic on the line, it's a mystery he can't allow himself to remain unsolved, even if he has to push the adventurers up the mountain by himself. So I think this is a cozy fantasy, which I very much like. Then we have Dead Weight by Hildur Knutsdotter. Sorry about that. Coming out May 26th from Tor, Nightfire, actually. Oh, we'll see. Unar was living a normal, if lonely life until a black cat showed up at her door. Trying to do the right thing, Unar reunites the lost pet with its owner, a young woman named Asta, who is in desperate need of some help. Unar reluctantly agrees to take in the cat until Asta is able to care for it again herself. Soon, Asta becomes a fixture in Unar's life, and the two form an unlikely friendship. But like a black cat, trouble is tailing Asta, and Unar is the only one there when things take a violent turn. Nothing tests a friendship like blood on your hands. This sounds cool. Then we have He's the Devil by Toby Coventry. This is a book coming out February 3rd from Adams Press. Simon has always been a good guy, a charmer. He's consistently employee of the month at his bougie restaurant job, neurotically tidy, and generally tries to do right by everyone. In his dark parts, he keeps those well hidden. But when his best and only friend Josh moves out of their shared apartment, Simon's world starts to fall apart when his new roommate Massimo moves in, because Massimo has brought something or someone with him. He might just turn out to be the roommate from hell. Strange things start to happen. Weird noises come from Massimo's room. Smells of earth and spoiled meat drift into the halls. Lights flicker, and Simon's nights fill with disturbing and alluring dreams. Meanwhile, across the city, murders are being committed, bodies torn apart from the inside. Massimo and whatever he's unleashed begin to awaken Simon's wild and exciting and horrifying inner self. Whatever his new friend is could be the end of Simon, or a completely new beginning. Apparently it's a literary thriller. I do think that sounds fun. Then we have An Impossibility of Crows by Kirsten Kashok. This is coming out March 3rd from University of Massachusetts Press. In this daring and evocative tale, a chemist trained in Philadelphia returns to her childhood home after the death of her father. Just a stone's throw from the haunted fields of Gettysburg, the small town of La Torte, Pennsylvania, is where the Cron family has lived for 6 generations, bound by twisted folk wisdom and the uncanny kinship with the crows that loom over their island. Or the land, sorry. Back in the grim farmhouse of her youth, Agnes is drawn into the strange legacy she tries to leave behind. When she discovers an abandoned nest in a barn, she becomes consumed by a scientific and deeply personal experiment to breed a crow so large and intelligent enough to carry her daughter Mina to freedom Agnes has never known herself. As the bird grows, so does its terrifying potential, manifest in language, cunning, and a violent will of its own. What begins as a gesture of love and liberation turns darkly obsessive, echoing the dangerous ambition of Frankenstein's monster and the generational trauma buried in the soil of her family's past. Sounds neat. And then A Widow's Charm by Caitlin Paxson. This is a book coming out March 31st from Del Rey. This is a romance. Yes, I know. You know I only read romance if it's, I guess, cozy fantasy or This one is about a necromancer. Lady Hildegard Croft is accustomed to changes in position. After all, she rose from maidservant to lady of the manor when she married Lord Thorgood Croft. But when he dies unexpectedly, the plans that would have protected her and the people of Crofthold die along with him. What's a widow to do? Potential salvation arrives in the form of Lord Elmwood, who is fleeing the consequences of using his forbidden charm to raise the dead. Now he's injured, destitute, and hiding out in the neighboring estate. For Hilda, blackmailing Lord Elmwood to resurrect Thorgood seems like a perfect solution. For Elmwood, beautiful Lady Croft seems like the ideal distraction from his troubles. The problem is, all she wants from him is the horrifying power he knows he can never use again. So, a very fun romance. The Temptation of Charlotte North by Camilla Bruce. This comes out March 19th from Delray again. In 1910, yay, my favorite era, a small remote island that boasts more sheep than people, life does not hold a lot of promise for the spirited Charlotte North. Her only chance to escape from both this insular community and a family who does not understand her seems to be through marriage, an institution she is not at all eager to join, given the unhappiness of her parents' own union. Plus, eligible suitors are few and far between, which is why Charlotte has fallen hard for one of the few outsiders to join their community in recent days, the handsome and likewise unhappily married new priest. Ooh. And then an ancient tower, once rumored to have imprisoned a witch or an unfaithful wife, crumbles and releases something. A restless spirit that knocks inside the walls and sends household objects flying. A spirit that seems to have an affinity for Charlotte herself. Though many on the island are terrified of this new interloper, Charlotte sees its potential, power, and perhaps even a way to get everything she wanted most out of life. I always like a priest romance. I don't know why. Probably because I'm not religious, so I don't find it offensive. Woolers by Taylor Brown. This is coming out April 7th by St. Martin's Press. Brooke, dispossessed and angry at the government after losing his family's New Mexico ranch, Trace Temple is looking for revenge. He's living out of his truck when a shadowy militia movement hires him to take down the legendary she-wolf of the Dark Canyon Pack, 111. But 111 is no ordinary wolf. Cunning, fiercely protective of her young and seasoned in the ways of men, she leads her pack deep into the forbidding desert peaks and canyons, always one step ahead of pursuit. Go, wolf, go. After harrowing brush with death in the backcountry, Trace has a change of heart, only to be replaced by a professional hunter and assassin named Murdoch, who ruthlessly pursues his animal quarry while stalking Trace himself. To survive, Trace must join forces with a pair of unlikely allies, a survivalist animal protector who deploys feral senses and deep wilderness skills to protect the wolves, and Imogen Cruz, a local rancher, a childhood friend, and unrequited love of Trace's early years. Together they must fight to protect not only themselves and the Dark Canyon Pack, but ultimately the Gila Wilderness itself, the world's first designated wilderness area. This sounds really cool because I'm an environmentalist and I love animals and stuff. So I'm like, oh, this sounds fun. I just hope no animals die, though. Of course, I'm going to probably have to reckon with that. Now we have The Fourth Wife by Linda Hamilton, the actress. That'd be awesome. March 31st by Kensington Publishing. Is this by Linda Hamilton, the actress? That'd be amazing. Anyway, I don't think so. Hazel Rinson's life in 1882 Utah Territory is defined by three things: the Mormon Church, polygamy, and the men who control both. She knows she's supposed to suppress her sinful dreams of a monogamous life with her sweetheart, and her desire for the freedom to play her beloved piano. Every Mormon woman's duty is to live obediently and meekly, devoted to her husband and her calling as a sister wife. Her eternal salvation depends on it. Commanded to become the fourth wife of a man she's never met, Hazel is relieved that Jacob Manwaring is attentive and handsome. However, she's shocked to discover that instead of living separately as is custom, all of Jacob's wives and children live in the same house. A large, dilapidated manor that inexplicably fills Hazel with dread. I think the marriage part would be the dreadful part. Despite Jacob's tenderness, Hazel senses dark secrets and resentments among her sister wives. She hears strange music, sees blood oozing from the very walls, and glimpses apparitions that grow more terrifying every day. And as her nightmares worsen, Hazel can't be sure if she has more to fear from the living, including her mysterious husband, or from a sinister presence that seems to animate the house itself. Interesting. We have A Spell for Drowning by Rebecca Ferrier. This is coming out January 27th from Alcove Press. The people of Poscatho are bound to traditions on the sea, living side by side with spirits, gods, and monsters that inhabit the rollicking waters. When Kenza and her half-sister come across a dying sea beast on the Cornish shore, Kenza is quick to claim credit for the discovery, and in so doing, steals the glory of her sister's position as apprentice to the local wise woman. It seems an appropriate station for Kenza, who has always existed out of step with the others in the village. Yet to be a wise woman is to be alone, unmarried, childless, relied upon, and lusted after, yet never truly wanted. Kenza's only real company is her mentor, the wise woman Isolde. But Isolde won't live forever, and when she falls ill, Kenza will do anything to save her and retain her newfound elevation within the community. Even if that means having to seek help from Bucca, a terrifying and unfathomable sea god who guards the tides around Poscato. In doing so, she'll risk her life, her family, and everything she's sworn to protect. And the last one, we have The Red Winter by Cameron Sullivan. This one's coming out February 24th from Tor. In 1785, Professor Sebastian Grave receives the news he fears most. The terrible beast of Gouverdan has returned, and the French countryside runs red in its wake. Sebastian knows the beast. A monster slayer with centuries of experience, he's joined the hunt for the creature 20 years ago and watched it slaughter its way through a long and bloody winter. Even with his help of his indwelling demon, Sarmonel, who takes payment in living hearts, it nearly cost him his life to bring the monster down. Now, 2 decades later, Sebastian has recalled to the hunt by Antoine Envel d'Audisserne, and an estranged lover who shares a dark history with the beast and a terrible secret with Sebastian. Drawn by both the chance to finish the beast for good and the promise of reconciliation with Antoine, Sebastian cannot refuse. But Gouverdan is not as he remembers it, and Sebastian's unfinished business is everywhere he looks. Years of misery have driven the people to desperation, and France teeters on the edge of revolution. Sebastian's arcane activities, not to mention his demonic counterpart, have also attracted the inquisitorial eye of the French clergy. And the beast is poised to close his jaws around them all and plunge the continent into war. This sounds awesome. I'm very excited to get started on this one. Yeah, it comes out in February. I'm probably going to read this one in January because I really want to read it. So, yeah, there is all of the books that I'm anticipating. Well, actually not all of them, but most of the books that I'm anticipating to read in 2026. It sounds like it's going to be a really good year for books. And I'm just so lucky, honestly, that I have access to NetGalley and things like that and get these books early and get a lot of these books for free in terms of like EPUBs and stuff. And some publishers send me free copies, which is amazing. So, yeah. So I'll be doing my stats video and my kind of yearly wrap-up video around the end of the month, probably like the 30th and 31st. So, yeah, stay tuned for that, I guess.